Now, when it comes to weapon choices, the Heavy has three main options and two secondaries. His three main options are a multi-melta, which is easily one of the best flamethrower shotguns ever to be made. He has the Heavy Plasma Incinerator, which in my opinion is the best weapon in the game, especially when used correctly. And then he has this, the Heavy Bolter. Now, the Heavy Bolter is essentially just a minigun that you get to walk around with. Think, old Halo days when you would play as Chief or Arbiter and you'd get on the sentry guns and rip them off, walk around with it. This thing has a very similar vibe to that, but depending on the variant you get a different experience, whether it's more accuracy, more time shooting the weapon, or just more damage overall. There's a ammo variant too if you find that you need that, but that's probably the weakest one in my opinion because the other three offer a little bit more than that one can, but you kind of have to feel those out to experience it. The accuracy variant is just insane. The vending speed one allows you to just shoot as long as you want almost at times, and the damage one, well, it puts out numbers. It actually does gangbusters. Thing is, though, which one is right for you? Which one do you want? Only you can really say, honestly. Alright, folks, so taking a gander at the weapons here, I would say that when it comes to variants, the only one I didn't try and I probably wouldn't recommend to you is the more ammo variant, but someone's gonna want this, so if that's you, take this one, call it a day. Job's a good one, you know? But for the people that kind of want a little bit more specialization out of the thing, the all damage variant can be good, or the vending speed variant can be good. But I want you to not sleep on the accuracy variant. So what I'm trying to kind of get at here is you have really solid variants here all around. So it's kind of dealer's choice. Go with what you want. Honestly, the accuracy variant kind of surprised me. The vending speed variant allows you to stay in the higher damage period thanks to our perk, the extra overheat damage. It's like 50% overheat, it's like 15% extra damage. It takes longer to get to that state, but you stay in there longer with this variant. So keep that in mind if you want to synergize with your perks. Well, let's see. Pistol? I mean, it's the standard pistol you always see me use. You've seen this one in every single one of my videos. Here's the perks, just so you can see. Same as the last one, save for what? None of them. Yeah, it's literally the same. So there you go. I totally didn't forget to put this in, so here you go if you want the perks. But as far as the accuracy variant goes, this thing actually surprised the hell out of me. This thing goes crazy hard because it's a lot easier to hit your shots with it. Now, the main problem is just how long it takes to overheat the weapon, but only one variant has a different time for that. So, for the most part, you're going to be working with the same overheat time. So, you work with that as you will, but this thing actually can get shots down range at medium to even long range at times. It depends on what you qualify as long range, I suppose, but let's just say this thing can go the distance. This thing actually can hang. They all have the same damage except for the damage variant with like one extra, right? So this thing has decent damage, really good accuracy, and thanks to the perks that we run, when I get over 50% overheat, it actually does hit a little bit harder. And because of it hitting harder, it clears out, you know, the neurothropes easier, it clears out warriors easier. It can just do what it needs to do, basically. This thing is the one that reminds me the most of the Halo miniguns. Just a little bit more accurate, honestly. But, god damn. This one, to me, is probably the best one, in just the fact that you can land more shots and you get more out of it. Every bullet matters in this weapon, even though you get a fuck ton of them. But the other variants, you'll see this. If you keep this shot pattern and grouping in mind, you'll see just the drastic difference in the spread on the other two variants that I will be talking about. So, if you value consistency in the weapon, this variant's probably for you. This is the one that I found that it just felt right. I didn't think it would be that good of a variant at first, but then as I was using the other ones, I kind of thought, if only the spread was a little bit tighter on this thing. If only the shots would actually land where I'm aiming them more often than not. Not to say that they don't actually land on the other variants, it's just that more of these shots land on this one because, well, it specializes in accuracy. This is what you would expect out of this variant, right? So it's good to know that it does its job and it does it well. But is that what you're looking for? If you have decent enough aim and you burst fire the thing, what's stopping you from just using the damage variant or the vending speed variant, right? Honestly, I couldn't tell you, right? For me, I value my weapon being consistently good at all times. It doesn't fluctuate in its spread or damage. Sometimes it does fluctuate thanks to our perks here, but it's only going up, and then it goes back down to, well, a decent enough spot, which is just the weapon's default. It's nothing to scoff at, but maybe somebody wants to squeeze out that extra little bit more damage at the cost of more spread and, less time actually shooting because the overheat time is not the same as the vending speed one, for example. But, you know, these decisions are for you to make, you alone to make. I can only say, yeah, this variant is good. I can recommend this. Yeah, this one sucks. Do that. There really is no bad one here. I would say the weakest link is the extra ammo one. Because why would you need extra ammo in this thing if you make your shots actually have either good damage or the accuracy to make it to where, you just don't miss a lot of shots and you actually use that ammo more efficiently, more wisely. With the extra accuracy we have with this thing, it also can mean extra safety if you can actually play your ranges a lot better. Thing about it is it's harder to do that at times because, with the Tyranids, for example, they have a lot of melee units, right? So you kind of have to fight at melee distances with something that, can hang in those ranges, right? But, like, it's not really built for, them breathing down your neck. It's kind of built for, just out of arm's reach, arm's length. Maybe even a little bit beyond that, maybe 2 arms length, you know what I mean? This thing does flourish and really thrive in the heat of the battle, no matter where it is, because it can do long and short ranges. So it's kind of just like a jack of all trades in that regard. But the thing doesn't have, you know, the maximum amount of damage. If you're worried about that, you know, it's on your conscience, not mine much, because like it's one less damage when it comes to the differences on the variants, right? That doesn't go that far if you think about it. Like, the most damage I've been able to put up on some of these is with the vending speed because you're able to shoot more of your bullets in a volley because, you just have more wiggle room. You have more of it. This thing, it's really just built for targeting heads. Like, if you're good on the aim, your aiming is like god tier, whatever, you're gonna see a lot of value out of this thing because headshots matter with a gun like this. Hence why I think that the less spread, the better grouping on it, the better. Now, you know, not everybody shares this sentiment, I get that. But if you value your ammunition, which you should in a game like this, and the higher difficulties especially, then, start thinking about maybe dropping a little bit of damage for either more ammo or getting more out of them, whether it be the accuracy, whether it be, being able to shoot longer. That's all, up to you, of course. Now, the damage numbers I am talking about, by the way, I mean, the lowest ones I've seen is 20k on this thing. Even on a bad round, it's still hitting 20,000. That's competing with the high-end sniper loadouts, the good tacticals. I mean, what else is there really that can compete with that, honestly? I don't know. Like, maybe. I don't even know. Honestly, I wanted to say Vanguard with a Melta and like a tactical doing scans, but like, not a lot of things can compare to that. I mean, Plasma Incinerator on tactical, for example, can easily. But I digress. That's enough about accuracy variance here. Let's talk about the damage one. Goes down from 4 accuracy to 1, goes up from 9 damage to 10. Now that sounds like a decent increase on damage, but your accuracy gets hit, and it's got the same overheat time if you were to just full auto it. But honestly, your shots hit a little harder. You can feel them, and as it overheats, you can feel that one even getting more damage out of it whenever it's over 50%. That 15% damage that you get, okay? It's just 15%, but it is actually doing something here. And this weapon squeezes that every little bit more out of it, which, if you like to get the most out of your perks, this probably could be the best variant for that. If you only look at it like damage, there's only so many things you can do with a more damage variant because, like, the thing is just a brute force kind of weapon. The spread on it is manageable, yes, and it's usually, what the weapon has. But I find that it just goes out too much when I'm full autoing, trying to get over that 50% overheat. And then when I'm trying to keep it above that 50%, if I try to burst it, I can lose a little bit. But bursting it while you're over that is good, so you can kind of maintain that damage and keep going with it. But it's a lot of micromanaging, right? Any of the variants will have this micromanaging, but this one you almost want to stay above 50% at all times, so you're doing the highest amount of damage possible with the weapon. Now, if that didn't sound like a bunch of hoops for you to jump through, then you might be able to manage this thing a lot better than me. But I find that there's way too much to manage, like micromanage that is, with this thing because, you know, with a higher damage variant, you're going to want to stay above 50% as much as you can, right? And I find that there's so many factors that stop this, you know, stuff hitting you, swarms getting at you, warriors hitting you with the whips, like whatever. It's always contextual. It's always going to be different for everybody, but we all run into the same scenarios at certain points, right? It's just different times in the adventure, whatever. This thing mainly thrives at killing the swarms. Not to say it can't do damage against the more, tougher enemies, the extremists, whatever. It's just to say that this thing thrives at killing the swarms. It thrives at fodder killing. Why would you need that extra damage for something that can die in one pistol headshot? Honestly, I don't know. If the heavy had the tactical perk, where, you get more penetration out of your bolt weapons, another story. Much damage as possible would be better, right? Like, why wouldn't you want that if you had that on the heavy? It'd probably be a little broken, let's be honest, if he had this. Probably why he doesn't. But this thing would excel with a perk like that. So while this thing does have insane damage potentials, right? The thing about it is it's got 1 accuracy. And you can see clearly if you remember back to earlier footage in the video, this thing does not have the grouping that that other one does. Granted, it still has decent enough, you know, shots on there where, like, you can just kind of point and shoot and you'll be fine. And some strays even go and hit stuff way back in, the back line or whatever. But it doesn't have the consistency of the accuracy variant. The shot grouping of that thing is insane. This thing, it's manageable. It's very good, but it's more about the damage per bullet. And as long as you can manage, hitting every target with that, if you're in the thick of it, you kind of can just aim anywhere and hit a target, right? That's where you see a lot more value out of this thing. It's very high risk, high reward, though. If you don't value that kind of playstyle, then I wouldn't recommend this. But if that's for you, I mean, by all means, this thing is right there waiting for you. and it's damn good at that too. As you can see, I mean, I just face tank a lot of attacks with this thing because I know if I get all headshots on them, especially with the overheat damage, then this thing is just gonna, rip them apart. I'm gonna be able to execute them and keep going, move on, next day, have a good old time, like it doesn't matter. It's just another day. It just goes to show you, like, this thing is consistent, just in a different way. And, that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing in any way, shape, or form. This thing's consistency lies in the damage numbers it can put up as long as you know how to aim this thing and the groupings, like where it'll go. I mean, just look at this Carnifex who volunteered to show the actual damage difference whenever you get the overheats going. It's not much, it's 15%, right? But you notice it's bigger chunks coming out of his health. That matters. That shit adds up, right? So don't scoff at it if you think it's that bad. I mean, you can, obviously, who cares, right? But, like, it's not something to just write off as, like, oh, 50% is so little. No, it's actually, more damage. So shut up and use it. Like, who cares, right? It's more damage for you, the guys that are using a damage variant of a weapon. I mean, why wouldn't you want that? If you're using a damage variant, you want more damage. So why not stack that even further? But you have to play the mini game of keeping your overheat at just the right levels or above the right levels to actually see its fullest potential. But honestly, that is fun in itself, actually trying to do that. It can be a bit frustrating and aggravating, yeah, but like, when is this game 100% pure? It's not always gonna fucking make you happy. It's not always sunshine and giggles. Sometimes it's a fickle mistress. Sometimes it wants to fuck you back. But anyway, we're done talking about this variant. Ah, yes, the venting speed variant. Most easily summed up as the variant that sprays the most because you have the longest time to shoot before it overheats. It also can take advantage of the overheat perk the most, I would say, because it may take longer to get there, but it stays there longer. Kind of the same feel for the minigame of keeping it above it, but you get more time in there for more damage. It just takes, a few extra shots, right? Majoris level enemies, they get fried before the overheat perk kicks in, but once it does, you actually destroy these guys even easier. Takes less shots, I'd mean, what, like 50 to 60 without it? Probably, what, 30 to 40 with it? Maybe a little less. I mean, this is all ballpark here, people, so don't quote me. This is all feel. This is not like I'm sitting here writing it down and trying to present it as factual, okay? This thing, I would say, is like probably the strongest of the variants if you prefer to just lay down, bullet fire, bullet hell, raining down as much of the bullets as you can, like whatever. This thing, like I said, all these variants have like the same damage except for the damage one. It's banked down at 9 damage, 1 accuracy, but the venting speed is like up by like what, 6? And if you don't know, venting speed just, gives you more room in the cooldown, the overheat meter before it needs to be cooled. It works the same with the plasma stuff. So if you're a plasma guy, you know this mechanic just fine. Then it also, makes it to where if it actually overheats or if you manually cool it, it is faster. But do you want any of this? Is that what you need in this weapon? Some people probably think that it has just fine amount of shots before it overheats. Hell, I was talking about earlier how a lot of the time you can't even get past the 50% mark to actually take advantage of your damage, right? Well, if it takes you longer to get there on this thing than the other ones, you'll find those instances happen more often. But, whenever it actually is able to get revved up like that, it could easily stay in that state longer. And it's also easier to keep it up because, say, you get it 80% of the way through there, that would have already overheated on a normal one. So it starts to drop a little bit as you, like, what, counter something, whatever. It may only go down to like 50, 40%. Whereas on the other guns, the other variants of the gun, sorry, it would have easily dropped way further, it feels like. So, the mini game can be managed easier with it. But do you really have to do this? Like, you may be asking yourself, does it really fucking matter? And the answer is no. I mean, you can get by just shooting the damn thing, turning your brain off, and having a good time. Get your favorite variant that isn't even one of these, and just, do whatever you want. The weapon itself is strong enough to do that. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't feel the strength of the weapon until it was already in the purple tier, right? But by then, I already kind of understood what I wanted for this thing. And granted, you don't have all the variants that are actually unlocked for you in the relic tier because, you gradually get more as you progress and whatnot. But, the thing holds its own no matter what variant you choose. Venting speed, accuracy, damage, ammo capacity, it doesn't matter. This thing is good no matter what. It just kind of depends on what you want. And in the higher difficulties, with more and more enemies, you kind of want to be able to spray this thing at times, right? You want to be able to shoot this thing as long as you physically can so that you can just lay down as much suppressing fire, as much damage, whatever. The vending speed variants were the ones that were putting out damage numbers way higher than the other ones in the purple tier. I think I got like 35,000 on one of them, and I was too stupid to not fucking save it because I was like, oh, he's not relic tier, it doesn't matter. Dude, it's the principle, right? Like, it shows you that this thing can hang no matter what. It can do what it needs to do. This thing actually is great. The weapons that the heavy has, they all hit. They all do great. But they all do that greatness in different ways, which is very cool. It's a nice balancing act that they achieved with that, I would say. The worst part about heavy, in my personal opinion, is some of his perks. Like, some of those perks are just kind of underwhelming. And I mean, probably some of the mastery perks on the guns, too. Like, I find those to be some of the most underwhelming, but also some of the most weapon defining perks at the same time, which is interesting. This thing probably didn't start feeling good until Purple and Relic because of those mastery perks, so remember to always keep those things in mind. It's really important to take everything into account whenever you think about a weapon. Every stat matters. Every stat does something, so it's good to think about what they're doing, how it affects the weapon. Do you care about that stat even at all? Like, all of these are valid questions and things to ponder whenever you're actually choosing weaponry. And that doesn't just apply to heavy, that applies to every single class, right? Maybe except for, like, ones that only have, like, one actual secondary, one or two, that is. I mean, at that point, it's kind of just like pick the one you like. So, I mean, if you're using this weapon, right, you're probably the kind of person that just wants to lay down as much fire as physically possible, and this variant is the one especially for that person, right? But there's going to be a few people, obviously, that want to specialize in other things, maybe try more damage, more accuracy, maybe a little bit more ammo because they feel like the weapon is perfectly fine the way it is. And in a lot of respects, it is. But, you know, I feel like the ammo is fine on this thing. You get quite a bit, and thanks to a few of our perks, one of them, the team perk, you even get a little bit more. So you could just double down and run both of those if you wanted, the perk and the variant. But honestly, it's like, there's not really a lot of stress about the choice here. That's the main thing, right? This weapon is that good that it doesn't matter which one you choose. All of them go crazy. All of them can put up the numbers if you care about doing crazy damage numbers. All of them can get you through a mission. Like, there's no wrong choice. And when it comes to that, like, no wrong choice that is, it's like, is that bad? No. It's actually very good. Like, it's better to have no bad choice than to look at a weapon and see that there is no good option. There is nothing that you want on it. To look at a weapon and see that It is just the blandest piece of shit you ever seen. That's bad, right? This thing, it's got that little bit of spice in there. It's got that soul to the weapon, which, a weapon should have. A good weapon has a little bit of that. It has that personality that comes along with it. Maybe I read a little bit too much into it, but, I found that many people want different things out of a weapon. I value consistency across the board. I want my weapon to feel either the same or similar at all times, whether it's good or, maybe not so good, whatever. Some people want pure damage. Some people want as much ammo as they physically can. Some people want to shoot as much as they can before they have to reload, overheat, whatever. This is all for you to choose, alright? This weapon can do it.